Hello everyone, my name is Quentin Dunaway and welcome to 2023. And this is On Cue Review's second annual yearly ranked video. Much like I did for 2021, I took all the films I saw and ranked them from my least favorite all the way to my favorite. But unlike 2021, instead of 40 films, we have 52 films to rank this year. I always wanted to say I was able to hit 52 films within 52 weeks, and I'm glad I hit it this year. Much like last year's video, this list is not necessarily a ranking on quality. It's more so ranked on my personal enjoyment of the film. And once again, just like last year's video, every film on this list was seen by me in a movie theater. So if you were hoping to see all three of 2022's Pinocchio films on this list, I'm sorry to disappoint you. But that's enough babbling from me. Without further ado, let's get this fire started with number 52. Coming in at the bottom of the list at number 52 is Firestarter. You ever want to watch Logan, but your mom tells you have Logan at home? Well, that's this movie. Everything potentially cool about this film gets thrown out the window in favor of one of the most generic superhero origin stories that has been put to film in years. Taking all of the worst aspects found in the Fox Marvel films and trying to pass it off as a movie. And to top it all off, this film is bad and forgettable. To be bad and memorable is one thing, but to be bad and forgettable, well, that's a fate worse than death. Jump scaring its way onto number 51 is Smile. I could not fathom just how much this film aggravated me. This film is just jump scare the movie in the worst way imaginable. Everything about this movie that is scary is a jump scare. Then the film tries to throw in some mental illness subtext and acting like, oh hey, mental illness is actually a demon. Which it is, but maybe not in the literal sense. I understand this film has its fans, but this was not a film for me. What were the odds that the bottom two films on this list have dead cats in them? Pretty great, actually. It must be Morbin time because at number 50 is Morbius. I love the memes, you love the memes, but Morbius is not a good movie because of them. Aside from the fact that Jared Leto is once again playing a bastardization of a beloved comic book character, this film is just everything wrong with modern day comic book films. It has such a generic story with some really bland characters, some boring action scenes with some equally as bad CGI. But to the film's credit at least, I was unsurprised with how bad it was. I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark here and say this is how all non-Marvel Studios affiliated Sony Marvel films are gonna go. Live action, at least. Oh, how I dread that Kraven the Hunter movie. Coming in at number 49 is Damien Chazelle's steaming pile of elephant shit, Babylon. Now I considered putting this film lower just for how high my expectations were. But to the film's credit, the set design, the performances, the music, it's great. If only the story was half as good. There are maybe 2 scenes of actual movie making in this movie, and I liked those scenes, but the rest of the time, it's just a loud, obnoxious, degenerate party. And as someone who isn't a partygoer in general, it's hard for me to get into that. All of this wrapped up in a film that tries to be about the love of movies and the love of making movies, but ends up being about the love of debauchery instead. What didn't help this film was that it was 3 hours long. Did not need to be that long. Falling its way onto number 49 is Moonfall. Roland Emmerich is back to destroy not only another Earth, but Lionsgate's hope for a big blockbuster. Have you seen a disaster movie? Well, this film has all that, and then some, surprisingly. The cast is fine, and the destruction is entertaining enough, I suppose, but this film is just stupid. There's jumping the shark, then there's rocketing past the shark, which is what this film does. Some may just want a movie about the moon falling towards Earth, and you get that with the accompaniment of a lot more, and the a lot more does not pay off, and it will never pay off given this film's box office performance. Coming in at number 47 is Minions: The Rise of Gru. I still to this day envy the person who invented the Minions, because they are a brilliant thing. Not brilliant because they're funny, because they definitely aren't. They're brilliant because I don't know how they're so popular. Because this film only clarifies the fact that the Minions are just noise. They work in the small doses they have in the Despicable Me films, but not in their own movie. Giving the comic relief a spin-off almost never works, and this is another example of that. Number 46 is Death on the Nile. For what it is, I suppose this is an okay murder mystery, if you like your murder mysteries being insanely predictable. I love the setting of the movie, and the cast is okay, but the film being as predictable as it is what hurts it. And on top of that, this movie's boring. So a boring, predictable murder mystery. Cannot think of a worse combo. At number 45, we have Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. You want to see the perfect example of a lost franchise? Well, here you go. No one behind this movie knows what they want to do with the wizarding world, and it shows. It says a lot about your trilogy when the best film is the first film, and it is only okay. If you ask me, these films should have stayed about Newt Scamander and Jacob Kowalski, the only characters in the film that are at all entertaining, because somehow even J.K. Rowling can't write Dumbledore entertaining anymore. And if that does not show you what a lost franchise is, I don't know what will. At number 44, we have Pearl. As far as production goes, this film is great. I love the way the film looks, and Mia Goth's performance is phenomenal. But at the same time, you are going to be hard-pressed to find me to care about anything that happens in this movie. I understand they're trying to frame Pearl's character and her downfall as a tragedy. I like that idea. It's really hard to do that, however, when it's a prequel. And while, yes, that may have worked in the past, but Pearl as a character is nowhere near as iconic or as interesting as some other characters who've gotten a similar treatment. I seriously don't understand what encouraged A24 to release this film after X, because it really hurts it. And guess what's next on this countdown? Number 43 is X. Can you believe it? Me neither. Basically, everything I said about production and performance about Pearl holds up for this film too. The 70s grindhouse feel is phenomenal, and unlike the previous film, or its sequel, its prequel sequel, I actually liked the characters. It was just lacking that thing for me to grab onto for a horror movie. And by that, I mean the villain. Surprisingly, Pearl didn't remedy that. Really, the only reason why X is higher than Pearl is because I find it significantly more entertaining. At number 42, we have Halloween Ends. I'll definitely say this was a step up over Halloween Kills, but somehow, some way, they managed to find their own shortcomings with this film too. This film does not feel like a proper send-off to Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. This feels like the sequel that would come after a proper send-off to Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, because this film goes in the absolute worst direction it could possibly go, basically nullifying this film's chance of having any form of a satisfying conclusion. That is until the last 20 minutes happened, because I can't lie, it was pretty entertaining. I just wish the rest of the film was like that. That would have been nice. At number 41 is Whitney Houston, I Wanna Dance with Somebody. As far as musician biopics go, this is about as average as you can get. It has all of the makings you've seen in every other musician biopic that's come out in the last 5 years, and it really doesn't do anything new with it. The performances are fine, and the story is probably enough to keep your attention, but this is about as average as a movie can get to me. If you're a fan of Whitney Houston, it's definitely a film that you'll enjoy probably, but to anyone else, At number 40 is 3,000 Years of Longing. Yeah, they didn't know how to market this movie, and it really shows. The film is mostly just short stories told by the genie, and while that could have worked, what I didn't like was like the other half of the movie. And not because it's bad, but because I also would have liked that as a movie too. Both directions that this film could have gone into would have been great. But since it wants to fit so much into its small runtime, it just doesn't work as well as I wanted it to. The performances are great, and the film is rightfully weird. It was just missing a form of consistency to me. Number 39 is Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. To the filmmaker's credit, they set out to make a family-friendly version of Blazing Saddles, and, well, they succeeded. But at the same time, it's just really hard to find just who this film is for. I find the Blazing Saddles homages funny, but the kids watching this movie aren't. But at the same time, if I want to watch Blazing Saddles, I'm just gonna watch Blazing Saddles. Add that to the fact that this film barely looks like a theatrically ready animated film, it's a wonder how it even hit theaters. It's inoffensive, surprisingly, considering the movie it's homaging, but at the same time, a waste of time. Number 38 is The Lost City. Now, this film is another instance of a movie studio getting these big stars and hoping a movie just kind of forms around it. And to the film's credit, the performances are great and the film genuinely has some funny moments, all the while having a very heartfelt story. It's just not as memorable as I like my comedies to be. It's nothing I find myself quoting on the daily, and it's just something that I don't really ever see myself watching again. Number 37 is Beast. Are you a fan of movies that take place almost entirely within or around a car? Well, I have the movie for you. For what it's worth, this film is a fun monster movie. I think Idris Elba is great, and there are some solid suspenseful moments throughout the film, accompanied with some surprisingly good camera work. I just wish the film ventured out from the car sooner than it did, because by the time they leave the car, the film is practically over. And speaking of movies that take place entirely within a vehicle, at number 36, we have Ambulance. Now, as far as Michael Bay movies go, this wasn't half bad. Now, this film may have the same Michael Bay-isms you've come to expect from the guy, but something about it just worked for this film. I enjoyed that the film was, for the most part, a giant chase scene. And Jake Gyllenhaal was just a freaking nut in this film, and it was pretty entertaining to me. The film was a little bit too long, but for what it's worth, I was kind of surprised with this one. At number 35 is the irrelevancy speedrunning champion of 2022, Black Adam. Now, there is definitely some fun to be had with this movie, I can't lie there. I really enjoyed Black Adam and Dwayne Johnson in this film, and of course, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. Yes, that was so good. I want more of that. I think of all the comic book movies we got this year, this one is the most comic booky, if that is even a word. As time went on and DC's management changed, this film kind of took a hit, and I can't help but feel like its sudden irrelevancy really hurts it. It's still an entertaining enough watch, but don't expect anything to come out of it anytime soon. At number 34 is Avatar: The Way of Water. This film is a visual masterpiece in every sense of the word, but that's about it. This film, for all intents and purposes, is just a 3-hour-long screensaver. Now, if it wanted to just be that, I think it would have been fine. A mesmerizing exploration of a beautiful world. That sounds great. But what the film lacks is the same thing the previous film lacked. Memorable characters. Aside from Jake Sully and Neytiri, I cannot tell you any other character's name. I literally only refer to Stephen Lang's character as Stephen Lang's character. It's hilarious to me. One of these days, we'll get an Avatar movie with writing that is equal in quality to the visuals, but that wasn't today. It is still a stunning movie that is well worth your time to watch. I just wish I can get into the characters more. Number 33 is Studio 666. Now, I'm not an avid Foo Fighters listener, but I had a lot of fun with this B-movie, dark comedy, whatever you want to call it. It's just a surprisingly good time. It's clear the Foo Fighters don't take themselves too seriously, which is why I believe they had so much fun making the movie, as much fun as I had watching the movie. I imagine the production budget for this film was like a ham sandwich, but a poor craftsman blames their tools. But still, this was just a fun B-movie. And rest in peace, Taylor Hawkins. Number 32 is Dog. Now, this film was a bit mismarketed in my opinion. Now, the film definitely has its fun, lighthearted moments, but it really took me by surprise just how deep this film got. Now, I'm not gonna make the claim that this film handles PTSD perfectly, because I don't really think I have the jurisdiction to say that, because I was surprisingly moved with this film, and not because it has anything to do with the dog dying, because spoiler alert, the dog doesn't die. Normally, I wouldn't be throwing spoilers around like that, but that just seems like something people want to know about a movie with a dog. The good boys keep coming, because at number 31 is DC League of Super Pets. Surprisingly, this is the better of the two Dwayne Johnson DC films this year. And surprisingly, it's the best Justice League movie we've ever gotten. Crypto the Superdog and Ace the Bat Hound are some really fun characters, and the side characters are a lot of fun too. The animation is okay, I suppose, but I just had a surprisingly fun time watching this film. It brought me back to watching the Crypto the Superdog cartoon on Cartoon Network. Number 30 is Uncharted. Now, I've always had a soft spot for Indiana Jones-style adventure films, and needless to say, I am super excited for this year, but I still enjoyed this film. I can definitely see how this film lacks some elements from the games that makes the game so special, and also Mark Wahlberg as Sully was never my first choice, but I enjoyed Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, and I just enjoyed the action in this film. It's a film genre that I just have a soft spot for. Number 29 is Jurassic World Dominion. Now, I completely understand some criticisms with this film. It definitely seems like they don't know what to do with the old characters, or even the new characters for that matter, and it just seems like they're trying to cash in on nostalgia. And while that definitely is the case, I just can't help but enjoy this movie for what it is. It's just a fun dinosaur action movie, and that's all it needed to be to me. The theme with the Therizinosaur, or as I like to call it, the tickly tickly, because it's got those big fingers, is one of my new favorite scenes in all of the Jurassic Park movies. They just nail everything about the dinosaurs in these films. They are the film's best character. While I do understand the criticisms to this film, I just can't help it hits me on the right spot, and I had fun with it. Making its way from your TV all the way to the big screen for number 28 is the Bob's Burgers movie. Now, I am more of a Simpsons guy myself, but I really enjoyed the Bob's Burgers movie. The characters are all charming and it's got a lot of heart throughout of it, but I think the biggest sell to it is the 2D animation that it brings to theaters. This film made me more of a Bob's Burgers fan than I already was, making me want to watch more of the episodes, and I have since seeing this movie. If you're a big Bob's Burgers fan and you haven't watched this film, you're definitely missing out. Let's keep this culinary train going, because at number 27 is The Menu. I'm telling you, a majority of these coincidental placements are just that, coincidental. But this is a really enjoyable, dark, satirical comedy. Ralph Fiennes delivers an insanely creepy performance throughout this film, and the food, even though it seems a bit snobby, doesn't look half bad. I just wish the ending was better. I like what happened. I just don't like what didn't happen, if that makes any sense. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously. Just watch the movie. You'll understand what I mean. It's well worth your time. Number 26 is Strange World, or as I like to call it, the film Disney forgot to market. But to be fair, I understand why it was so hard for them to market this film. I enjoyed the grandfather, father-son trio dynamic throughout the film, but the threat of the film itself was a bit boring, however. The animation is great, as you would expect from Disney, but at the same time, you just don't find yourself caring about the world that much. For as good as the animation looked, I do think a more stylized route would have definitely salvaged the film a little bit. Not an awful movie by any means, and definitely worth at least one watch, but definitely not what you come to expect from Disney. Since we're at the halfway point, I want to say thank you all so much for the year you've given me. I wasn't sure how these videos would work out, but I'm glad that you are all enjoying them, and I hope you all stick with me through 2023, because we got some big movies to review. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Anyway, back to the video. Number 25 is The Woman King. Now, I'm a big fan of historical films, and this film definitely delivers on that. Not only is Viola Davis giving one of her best performances here, this is also a thrilling historical action film. This film's tone is a surprisingly modern tone. It's not a gritty historical movie, even though it has its moments. It's a surprisingly entertaining action film. There are moments of levity in this film that would not be out of place in a modern-day action movie. Obviously, there are no pop culture references in the film. I would definitely raise an eyebrow to that. But the characters act in ways that would not be out of place for the time, and it makes for a really fun action film that is also a great history film. Number 24 is Elvis. Now, everything I said about the Whitney Houston movie can be said here too. It has everything you expect from a musician biopic, and then some. But for some reason, this film just works better in my opinion. And I think the only reason why is because Elvis is just a more entertaining character. Elvis himself was a huge character, and Austin Butler's performance is great. Unlike some other performances in this film, no one thought it would be a good idea to tell Tom Hanks no in this movie, and man, I wish they did. Dialing in at number 23 is The Black Phone. Scott Derrickson delivers one of the best horror films of the year. Ethan Hawke is rightfully creepy all throughout this film. All the while, the premise of the movie is what makes it so scary. This is something that could happen, and it has happened. At the same time, this film also introduces some supernatural elements that work really well with the film. I was just a really big fan of this film. Number 22 is Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. The better of the two murder mystery films released this year. I was not into the first half of this movie much at all, but the second half redeemed it in almost every way. Daniel Craig plays Benoit Blanc so well. It's clear he's having a lot of fun playing this character, and I'm having a lot of fun watching this character. He's a great detective and a great character, and the mystery is compelling, even if it can be a bit predictable. But Rian Johnson works with how predictable the film can be. Oh, and by the way, this portion of the video, just this number, will be removed from this video in 1 week. I don't care if it messes up anything, it will be removed from this video in 1 week and will be exclusive to Netflix. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Number 21 has us going back all the way to the beginning of the year with Scream. And I think this was a great reintroduction to the Scream franchise. It has so many new movie tropes to play with, specifically legacy sequels, and I think it does a fantastic job at poking fun of them, all while being a really compelling and entertaining horror film. I'm definitely really excited for the sequel that's coming out in March. Paramount must have had some huge faith in this film for them to have a sequel 14 months later. But I'm down either way. Number 20 is The Bad Guys. DreamWorks did not miss this year. You'll see more later on. This was a really fun cops and robbers comedy. The voiced cast is great and the animation is phenomenal. I just hope that the film being about bad guys becoming good guys inspires DreamWorks to make Megamind 2. I just want that, please. Please. Number 19 is Thor, Love, and Thunder. Now, I may be in the minority on this one, but I didn't hate this movie. Some jokes don't always land, but that is par for the course with comedies. But I really enjoyed Thor reuniting with Jane, and I really enjoyed their dynamic in this film. I thought Gore was a solid villain. The scene on the black and white planet is now one of my new favorite MCU scenes. And this movie ends in a way that is practically a subversion of a MCU trope that's going on right now. It was an ending that I kind of dug, I'll be honest. Number 18 is Nope. Jordan Peele's venture into sci-fi horror definitely pays off here. Nope is an insanely weird and unpredictable film that I was into from beginning to end. Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer play a great brother and sister duo, and the film is just incredibly intriguing and original. The film may be going in one direction only for it to go into a completely other direction. It makes for a movie that you're just not gonna predict what's going to happen, and it's insanely entertaining because of it. Number 17, to my surprise, is Terrifier 2. My expectations were so low with this film, I ended up really enjoying it. Art the Clown is just such an asshole in every sense of the word, but at the same time, he is such an entertaining villain to watch. And the gore effects of the film are just as impressive as they are disgusting. But what surprised me the most with this film was just how much I actually enjoyed the characters in it. I really enjoyed the brother and sister team that were going up against Art. I thought that was a lot more interesting than what the first film had. Plus, Lauren Lavera is my queen and I would die for her. Number 16 is Lightyear. As someone who's been a Buzz Lightyear fan for as long as I can remember, I really enjoyed this film. I can understand how some people may not quite get what the film is, and it didn't really sell very well because of that idea, but Pixar wanted to make a cheesy throwback movie with this iconic character, and I think Chris Evans does a great job at making Buzz Lightyear his own and not feeling like he's doing a Tim Allen impersonation. All in all, it's just another Pixar film that I had a lot of fun with. Number 15 is The Northman. The best way to describe this film is just exhilarating. This is the type of film that will have you hooked from beginning to end. Robert Eggers delivers us a beautiful film with some fantastic performances from Alexander Skarsgård and Anya Taylor-Joy, all the while amazing action scenes and cinematography. It's a satisfying revenge film, and I really dug that. Number 14 is Devotion. As I said earlier, I am a big fan of historical films, but I'm also a big fan of war movies specifically. And this film really scratched that itch for me this year. Not only do Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell deliver some great lead performances in this film, it also tells an amazing story about an amazing man who you've probably never heard of before. It does suck that this film may have been overshadowed by another fighter pilot film that may or may not be on this list later, but I still highly recommend you check this one out. Number 13 is Jackass Forever. There really isn't much to say about this film other than the fact that Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville and the rest of the Jackass crew are absolutely insane, but they're great at what they do. The charming thing about Jackass is and will always be that it's just a bunch of friends doing these crazy stunts together. And it's not a group of YouTube douchebags doing these on unsuspecting people. I tell you, going to see this film in a theater, a packed theater no less, with everyone belly laughing and gagging and reacting basically to the same thing, is bar none one of my favorite theatrical experiences of the year. Number 12 is Barbarian. I wasn't particularly expecting much from this film, but I got almost everything I would want out of a horror movie with it. This film is a roller coaster, and I don't mean that in the stuck up, it's not cinema kind of way. You literally do not know the twists and the turns that this film is gonna go, and it is so entertaining because of it. There are not many horror films out there that genuinely stress me out, but this is definitely one of them. Easily, without a doubt, my favorite horror film of the year. Number 11 is The Batman. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hear me out. I think this film is just great. From the amazing performance Robert Pattinson gives as Batman to the absolutely amazing Gotham that is brought to screen, there is just so much to love about this movie and to get you excited about this new take on Batman. But it just so happens that I just played through Arkham City again, and I tell ya, I really want Batman to go back to fighting these larger-than-life villains, especially on the big screen. I really want him to fight Clayface or Bane, someone like that, please. But nonetheless, I still really enjoyed this film and am absolutely excited for the sequel. Kicking off the start of the top 10 is, surprisingly, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I told you, DreamWorks went hard this year. I applaud them. For what could have absolutely been a cheap cash grab is far from it. DreamWorks put their all into making a beautifully animated, surprisingly emotional, and extremely entertaining and funny film. I tell you, I was not expecting at all to feel as emotional as I did watching this movie. If they were to make a Shrek 5 and it look as good as this film and be as good as this film, I'm absolutely there for it. Rolling around at the speed of sound at number 9 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The Sonic films are the only time bullying has worked. Without the internet bullying Paramount and Sega to fixing the previous Sonic film to make Sonic look like, well, Sonic, we wouldn't have this amazing sequel. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are brought to the screen with so much love and care, and Jim Carrey once again knocks it out of the park as Dr. Robotnik. It is such a fun movie for fans and non-fans alike. And I can't wait for that third movie. Frickin' Shadow Dude! Number 8 is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Now, this feels like a film that everyone just kind of forgot existed this year, and that really bums me out. Because this is such a fun and funny movie. Nicolas Cage playing a characterized version of himself is just perfect. And his comedy with Pedro Pascal is great. All the while being a surprisingly emotional film about Nicolas Cage's life in Hollywood. This film is just as emotional as it is funny and entertaining. And it's a film that I really suggest a lot more people check out. It is well worth your time to watch. While this film may fall under some form of technicality, number 7 is Turning Red. Yes, I know it didn't get a theatrical release, even one comparable to Glass Onions, but I did see it in a theater, so I am counting it. I still think Disney threw away money by not giving this film a theatrical release. Kids and parents, moms and dads, boys and girls, they all would have found something to like and enjoy about this movie. It is such a fun and upbeat movie with some beautiful animation and some great characters. Everything you expect from Pixar. I sincerely hope Lightyear's poor box office does not scare Disney away from releasing more original Pixar films to theaters. Because Turning Red is my favorite animated film of the year, and Pixar originals are always something I'm going to love. Number 6 is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. If you didn't like Thor, that's fine. I can understand that one. But this film was everything I wanted it to be. A fun, weird, sometimes scary Raimi movie. Sam Raimi went as hard as he could with this film. Literally, it was only a PG-13 movie. And Doctor Strange, I love his character arc in this movie. It's possibly my favorite post-Endgame character arc. It was a great place to take his character after Endgame and after No Way Home. And the Scarlet Witch, surprisingly, makes for a better villain than she does a hero. However, some people would point to another multiverse film this year. May I remind you that the placements on this list are pure coincidence? Number 5 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Admittedly, this film is a lot weirder and a lot wilder than Doctor Strange, which admittedly I'm okay with. As I said, I really liked Multiverse of Madness, and I liked this film too. Michelle Yeoh delivers a phenomenal performance as both this multiverse goddess and a mom. As weird and as wild as this film could be, it still has a lot of heart put into it. It just hits you on an emotional level that you're just not expecting a film where the main character goes to a multiverse where she has hot dog fingers. This movie's wild and I love it. Number 4 is Top Gun Maverick. This is without a doubt the best legacy film that has been put to screen yet. This is one of, if not the best performance Tom Cruise has ever given, and the fighter pilot scenes are top notch. This is a film that will have you on the edge of your seat from beginning to end. There was a reason why it was the biggest film of the summer. It was just that good. Number 3 is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Now, a lot of people have been pointing at Phase 4 of the MCU and claiming that it was about grief. And after Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, I can genuinely see that. Not only does this film handle the real-life passing of Chadwick Boseman extraordinarily well, the in-universe passing of T'Challa adds an emotional weight to the MCU I don't think we've ever seen. Letitia Wright and Angela Bassett deliver 2 of the best performances the MCU has ever graced us with. And on top of that, the introduction of Namor, now one of my favorite MCU villains. This film is an absolute triumph in every sense of the word. Number 2 is Bullet Train. You ever come across a movie and go, yep, that's made for me? This, as well as the next film, are 2 films that were just made for me. It has all of the makings I want out of a fantastic action movie. The cast was all great. Brad Pitt, Brian Tyree Henry, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Hiroyuki Sanada. They were all badass. The setting is also phenomenal, and the stories that go on throughout the train are all intriguing in their own right. Add that to the fact that every action scene in this movie is backed up with some amazing music. It's just a movie that I was guaranteed to love. Before we get to number 1, I want to explain my reasoning just a little bit. Trying to pin down my absolute favorite film of the year is a tough one. So what do? I just go and pick the film that just made me the happiest. I did the same thing last year. What movie came out at the right time and made me the happiest? What film came out at the right time and filled me with Christmas cheer? Because number 1 is Violent Night. Back to what I was saying about films specifically made for me. This is yet another example of that. This film does not treat action star Santa like a gimmick. They give Santa a perfect arc for a film like this. And David Harbour knocks it out of the park on every level, with some amazing action scenes and a fantastic villain played by John Leguizamo. This is not only a great action movie, but it's also a really good Christmas movie because it has all of the heart you come to expect from Christmas films. This film just made me happy. And maybe acting like this film changed my life is a bit of a stretch, especially for the movie where Santa Claus is kicking people's ass. I don't care. Violent Night is my favorite film of 2022. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and it means the world to me the past year you've given me on this channel. I'm so glad you've stuck with me and watched the videos. Thank you so much for everything. I am going to get a little somber here for a second. I do want to talk about something that happened over the end of the year. A big supporter I had on my videos was my grandfather, Louis Sharp Dunaway III. He was the third in the line of 5 Dunaways. 5 Louis Sharp Dunaways. You can figure out which one's which. He passed away on Thursday the 29th of December. He loved watching my videos. He would sometimes get impatient when I told him some videos were running a little late, but he always enjoyed them. Even if he didn't quite understand what was going on in the movie or what the movie was really about, he just loved hearing me talk about them. Because he couldn't go to the movies much anymore, but he loved hearing me talk about them. My favorite review that I showed him was my Terrifier 2 review, because after I showed it to him, he goes, "When is this movie playing on TV?" I'm dedicating this video to him because I know how much he enjoyed them. I like to imagine he's watching them somehow. He was very supportive. He loved these videos, and I love making them for him. And I'll continue to love making them for you guys too. But with sadness comes happiness once again. New year means new movies. Bunch of new movies coming out between now and the end of the year, like there always is, because there are a lot of fun movies we're gonna go see. Hopefully they're gonna make for some fun reviews, and I hope you stick around with me for it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified when the next review drops. Until next time, I'm Quint Dunaway, hoping you all have a happy 2023, and hoping you will keep it cinematic.